Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Joshua Offenhartz with me here today. Joshua is the managing partner for Kahana Feld here in Arizona, where he provides strategic legal counsel to businesses and individuals. Welcome to the show, Joshua.
Jim, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today and hope we have a great conversation.
Oh, I'm sure we will. Why don't we start by you giving us a snapshot of your business right now?
Yeah, so as I said before we started recording, I'm a true native Arizonan, born, raised, educated here.
Like a unicorn. It's always exciting to meet one.
A true unicorn, or as I say, a true Arizona cowboy. But I am currently the managing partner for Kahana Feld, which is a national growing law firm. And my book of business is I work with small, medium, and growing businesses. And I'm told I need to include large and larger because of revenues and success. But really what I do is I help solve problems and legal problems. And so depending on what phase of your business, that could be incorporation, that could be hiring the first employee, that could be, the first contract that you need help with. It could be the first time you get a cease and desist. It could be the first time you get sued. It could be the 100th time you get sued. And unfortunately, we have situations where partnerships break apart or things close down because businesses are unsuccessful. So what I love about it is that I'm working with intelligent and exciting business owners. I get to learn about new industries because typically the legal problems have a rhyme to them, right? They're either related to the life cycle of the business or they're related to the law that businesses sort of find themselves touching on.
Right.
So very cool for me.
Okay, yes, very interesting. I imagine, maybe you can talk a little bit more about the industries that you're affiliated with. Some of them have higher liability, right, and concerns that way. Maybe you can give us a little idea or some examples of the range of services you provide for, and we'll talk a little bit more about being sued later. But just standard businesses are often come to you with needs.
Yeah, so I think for being in Phoenix or being in Arizona, some of them are industries that you would expect. A lot of construction or construction adjacent, real property, homeowners, residential, fix and flips, landlords, things like that. So that's sort of what we're known for. A lot of different small businesses in the culinary space. Whether you are, a young entrepreneur with a food truck, or you've got a restaurant or a club, things like that. Surprising number of medical professionals. Arizona has a robust medical field, and so solo practitioners or small groups that need help, will come to us. And then because of some of my background and work that I've done, I also have a really exciting opportunity to work with. I call them e-entrepreneurs or people in the technology space or the finance space, which Scottsdale has an emerging sector with. So really, you sort of, those are the people that I would say form the core of my, clients in my book. But really, a lot of it is word of mouth and recommendation. And so, the structure of a business, the legal issues that go into that, the legal issues that sort of surround operating a business are all very similar regardless of the field. So I put in the time to learn your industry so that I can give my clients the best advice. But really, the information and the help that we're giving is the legal side. So it doesn't change industry to industry. So we get one-offs all the time. I've got a client who is a well-known, very high-end jeweler. I've got a client that is in some not aerospace, but aeronautical and aeronautical goods. We've got people that are doing nonprofit work. So really, it's a lot of word of mouth, a lot of doing good work, a lot of being available. And I think a lot of that is attributed to my availability and my attitude and my excitement at learning about what entrepreneurs are doing in their businesses.
Okay. It sounds like you wear a lot of different hats, which can be a real boon to somebody who doesn't want to have to reach out to different specialists all the time.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. Again, my sort of educational background in part was in business. And so one of the things that I sort of pitch, if you will, is I understand, unlike I would say most attorneys, that my job is to wear a legal hat and solve a business's legal problem. My job isn't to be the smartest and only lawyer in the room and really drag your business down. And so I think that when I'm able to understand that role, I can provide better solutions. And then I think as far as infrastructure is concerned, our firm has very capable people across the country that are able to provide auxiliary services and really educate and help our clients when they need it. So we can be that one-stop shop resource.
Okay. Other things that when I see one-stop shops, sometimes they seem to be focused more on estate planning, and then we'll also help you set up entities and everything. Is Kahana Feld mostly business oriented and real estate at that?
So no, not I would say not the real estate side. Kahana Feld, broadly speaking, if I had to tag us, we would be again sort of a litigation firm.
Okay.
And the reason I think that sort of provides I want to say unique, but a special background is because we see when problems go wrong, right? We're
Right.
fighting those fights in court. We're seeing the application of the law. We understand what's persuasive, and so we have that perspective of. This is what it looks like when things go wrong. And so then when we work with our professionals that are on the front end, we can give them that expertise and those experiences. And so they're able to look into the future and offer advice to prevent those sorts of issues. And one of the big ones that I tell, my small and growing businesses is, we talk about dispute resolution, right? One of the things I'll say about entrepreneurs is they are very optimistic. They're very forward looking. And
Yes.
sometimes things just don't go as planned through no fault of anybody's. And so when we're able to create off ramps for disputes, it saves them time, it saves them money, it saves them headache, and it's not something that you would think about on your own on the front end. It's just that's not where their head is. That's not where their head should be. So I think those sort of services allow us to complement each other. And then really, we have offices around the country, and those offices, I would say, can be specialized. And so, we might have, for example, we have a very well-known appellate practice in New York. That's not something that's going to touch on most businesses, but it offers a window into other things and creates other relationships. For example, we also have in our Irvine office, a traditional business commercial transaction team. So as opposed to being like a one-stop shop generalist sort of thing, we have these specialty locations that we can lean into.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we do this litigation and defend these businesses and these lawsuits.
Okay. And speaking of lawsuits, who was it? I think it was Richard Branson, I guess. I heard it's just the bigger you grow, the more successful you are, the more lawsuits you're going to have. It's just the nature of it. And he said at any given time, he probably has 100 lawsuits against him. And I was like, wow, that sounds brutal. But it's just the nature of it and getting your team set up to deal with it consistently.
Yeah, it's I probably don't want to put myself out of work, but it's unfortunate, but it's also a reality. So the first time it happens, I usually will tell, my business owners, congratulations, you've reached a level,
Right?
right? You are now serious enough that somebody feels like they've got to come after you for whatever it is, and it could be nothing. After a while, that is not funny anymore. And so the
Right.
question is, again, how do we create an off ramp, or how do we protect ourselves, or how do we protect the entrepreneur's time? And what I find saying in a lot of conversations is, unfortunately, we can be sued at any time by anyone for any reason, regardless of the merits. And I wish I had a better answer on how you prevent that, but the reality is what it is. And
Right.
so what we try to do, myself and our firm, is to create preventative measures that will either minimize the headache or minimize the cost, and really give that off ramp. And I think we're pretty good at it, but obviously, you end up sometimes having to deal with lawsuits, and sometimes you're in them, and sometimes you're defending them, and sometimes they're necessary, right? I mean, generally, you can have good-natured disputes between companies that just disagree about something. They both feel that they are passionately right, and our system allows that to be decided by everyday people that hear the evidence and make a decision. So that happens too.
Okay. So what's an example of one of your more recent clients who came in? What is a small business coming for in this market right now?
Yeah, so I would say with respect to some of my e-commerce clients, as an example,
Okay.
one of their sort of, I guess, business models is they're always looking for products or growth or marketing opportunities. And with the recent, spike in inflation and sort of the market slowdown, a lot of the deals that they had agreed to in 2021,
Mm,
2022, 2023, which worked at the time, they suddenly found themselves in situations where there just wasn't the revenue coming in to meet those obligations. And so in some cases, they were coming in and saying, hey, we'd like you to reach out. We'd like to have a discussion about renegotiating terms. So that was a big one. In some
okay.
cases, they had not been able to meet their obligations. And so we were mediating or arbitrating, or there was a lawsuit. So that was some things that we saw. I have a very sort of exciting, or at least in my head, it's exciting group of clients that are in that national wholesale space for residential and single family properties.
Okay.
And each of them are doing something exciting, right? Some of them are working on, how do we make these listings and these properties available broadly and easily to the public. Some of them are working with some of the big platforms. Some of them are, educating and trying to do fix and flips. And so those each come with their own legal issues, whether it's, well, what's a service contract and how do we provide this service? Or, we want to provide an educational opportunity, but we don't want to run afoul of the SEC because they think it's an investment or a business expectancy at the state level.
I
So
see.
there are just amazing, interesting questions that pop up from time to time. And it always starts with we have an idea, we want to make sure we're covered. And we go from
Right.
there, and you brainstorm and I do research, and we move forward.
Okay. How often are you putting out fires where people didn't preemptively structure things appropriately?
So I would say with returning clients, less frequently. That's a lot of forward-looking
Yeah, I would
meetings.
hope so.
With first-time clients and some earlier relationship building clients, that's usually why they're coming in. Is there was some sort of red flag or yellow flag. They asked a friend or a coworker or a fellow entrepreneur, and there was a referral. And so that's one of the things that I talk about in those initial meetings. Once we've done a review, once we're comfortable with each other, it's, hey, this is what I think we should do to solve this particular problem. But big picture, you should think about these 3 or 4 things. And I think we could tweak this or that, and you could sort of get around this or avoid this headache, or you could minimize it. And, to most business owners' credit, they're certainly open to those ideas. Sometimes people are in the zone and they don't want to hear it at that time. But
Right.
again, when you have enough of these headaches, you eventually get the lesson and you do something about it.
Okay. What are some of the bigger items that newer or smaller entrepreneurs should be thinking about that they may not have, that they should probably start thinking about getting in to see you about and making sure they don't have future problems?
Yeah, so I would say at the earliest stages, I think entrepreneurs should be taking the time to do all of the paperwork for their new entities, and they should really think about the next phases of the business when they're successful. And what I mean by that is very often, especially these days, people know I'm going to incorporate in Wyoming, I'm going to incorporate in Florida. Everyone's heard of Delaware, and they go and do it. They don't think twice of it. Maybe they go to a legal Zoom because they can get the paperwork, and then they're off to the races. And what ends up happening is, especially if there are partnerships or investors or their friends, is they don't take that second step which is, well, where is our operating agreement? How is this business going to be structured? How is it going to run? What are sort of the thought processes behind the business administration? And then inevitably something happens, right? Whether it's the idea didn't catch on, the revenue didn't catch as quickly, maybe there's a fallout between partners, and all of a sudden there's a fight and there's no way to resolve it.
They didn't have the rules laid out in advance for how to operate.
Yeah. And so I always recommend that, and really thinking through all of the issues that come with that, because, and again, I've had this through experience. When you don't do it, you have the headache. When you do have it in place and you have had that long meeting and you've thought about every scenario, when it triggers in the future and it's just, well, we're going to do this. This is what we say we're going to do. Like, wow, I'm glad we did that. So it's one of those, your past self, your future self is thanking your past self, and you're avoiding a big headache. But that's a big one, I would say, in sort of the early stages. And then, ceases and desists, and that first lawsuit in the middle stages is what we get a lot of. And the biggest issue there is, I would tell business owners, I understand revenue fears, and you don't want to deal with a lawsuit, and you think you can get out of it, and you don't want to deal with the lawyer. But what I tell people, and honestly, I said it this week to a client, paying your lawyer 3 figures or maybe 4 figures is much easier, even though it's a headache, than getting hit for a 6 or 7 figure judgment against the business because you misappreciated what was going on. And so I think sometimes people get that intuitively, but a lot of times that's I've got to learn it the hard way, that you got to invest in the future.
Right. I know I should eat well, but but yeah, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome in your career?
Yeah. So, I think it's really, I would say, is somewhat structural. Law is very traditional, and we live in an accelerating time. And so, what most people don't think about on the legal side, or don't appreciate is, you're pursuing this goal to get this license to be a lawyer. And I would say many lawyers that I know, they want to change the world. They want to make a difference. They want to do right. They want to pursue justice. They're in it for the right reasons. And then you become a lawyer. And really what you don't realize right away is you're now working in a business for the most part. And that business is a traditional business like anything else. You're just offering a service, and that service is legal services. And so I think, the biggest issue that I've experienced is working for poorly managed businesses, and how, if you're focused on the service that you provide, because as an attorney, I'm a revenue generator, a profit center. You can be fixated on doing good work, and all of a sudden one day, someone comes in and says, through no fault of your own, we're shutting our doors, we're closing down. There were issues that were levels above you or outside of anything, and all of a sudden you're caught flat-footed. So I think that was a major wake-up call. Is I really early on made sure that I understood the business side of whatever firm I was with. And then the other issue that's related to that is, as long as you're mentally sound, you can conceivably practice law for many, many years. And right now, we have not made the generational turnover in law that some other industries have. And so often there are 70-year-olds and even 80-year-olds that are still practicing, that are still holding on to the reins, that are still making decisions. And they may be great attorneys. I'm not going to say anything about that, but they really have not evolved with the times when it comes to running a business or understanding how law is practiced today, or really appreciating it. And so you have this conflict where either you're missing revenue because there's opportunity loss, or whether there's cultural friction because it's very difficult to tell a 20-something or a 30-something attorney that they need to be chained to a particular screen in a particular office when anybody can do legal work from any screen anywhere. So those are big things that I think are going on across the market, and my career's been no different.
Okay. You mentioned sort of the changes in the industry. I imagine they're pretty big, particularly in the past few years with the particularly on probably the clerical stuff or paralegals and stuff with the advent of AI and can you speak a little bit to that and how that's impacting your industry?
Yeah, so I think on one hand, there's a little bit of job security built in because law is grounded in history. And so in order to change certain aspects of it, you've got to change the law, which is, I think, somewhat self-serving. And that's a slow process. But I think as far as the internet revolution and obviously the upcoming, AI revolution, lawyers have had to do more and more work. And I think the expectation is that they will do it faster, just as competently, and the costs should come down because costs everywhere are coming down because of technology.
Right.
And so that's been a very big struggle because you've got to do more with less for less. And for some, again, going back to the business side of things, legal margins are what they are. And at a certain point, respectfully, you can't tell somebody who took on, six figures or mid six figures worth of law school debt in order to get their degree, that all of a sudden they have to take a certain wage, which wouldn't even let them service, that loan debt. So there are inefficiencies built in there. But I am excited about the AI revolution, sort of for two reasons. I think one, it will make attorneys more efficient. Right now you have almost like a Google-like program for looking up legal cases, and it relies on you doing the thinking, you doing the query, you sifting through the results, you picking out what's important. And the legal research is a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, but I think that's where people spend a lot of time. There's a lot of cost there. And so in the future, if all of a sudden, AI can spit out the best arguments with the best citations for the legal issues, obviously that's going to save time, that's going to save cost. I'm an optimist. I don't think lawyers are going to be completely cut out of the circle. What I imagine is you will have lawyers sort of double checking the work, making the arguments, interpreting what comes out of AI. But I could very much see offices and law firms shrinking even further because a lot of that support staff or support effort becomes digitized. So It's an exciting time. I think I'm a young enough attorney that I'm excited by the future. I'm not scared by it yet, but I'm sure that day will come.
Right. Okay. I like to talk investing sometimes in the future. What's your ideal investment? What do you look for?
So I am a very, I would say, traditional investor. I want to look for a company that makes something tangible, that makes a great product that I think is going to be around a long time. And I'm the type of investor that will get in, and I will keep buying. And then I want to hold long term.
Nice.
I don't have, frankly, the time to sort of play the day-to-day or the short-term market, although I think I would love it if I could. Candidly, my brother works in finance, and so I live vicariously through him.
Okay.
But my risk tolerance, at least in that finance side, is somewhat low. And frankly, my friends that like to go to Vegas don't like taking me all the time because I find that it translates into that realm as well. But also,
you can be the voice of reason that keeps them from getting into trouble.
Well, I joke,
mitigate their liabilities.
Yeah, well, I joke. I say, I do, candidly like playing craps. I think it's a numbers game and a statistics game.
Right.
But I have a rule that if we're not going to sit down for a period of time, I'm not going to just throw dice or roll dice or, hey, we're going to dinner, this much on black, let it ride. I can't do that. And I have friends that do that, and I love them to death. But it's not me.
Right. Funny. Okay. So longer term plans for growing your financial freedom and wealth.
Yeah, so like I said, I very, very traditional. I recently had a wealth event that really accelerated our plan, and so when I met with my financial planner, up until then I had sort of been self-managing, and when we met with our planner, he took everything into account. He put it up on the screen, and so I'm proud to say that I've been left to myself. We were on track to sort of get to our goal at retirement. And then obviously the event ends up helping accelerate that, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And so right now I'm very much learning learning. I'm in a learning phase. And so, I think I'm blessed with an opportunity to maybe take a little bit more risk, to diversify a little bit more than I would have. And, the financial planner suggestion is always, you take care of yourself and your retirement first, and then, you can start branching out from there. And so, luckily, I think we've got that taken care of. So my hope is to start looking into the future and being a bit more aggressive, or maybe taking a little bit more risk. I'm certainly interested in, the future of the cryptocurrencies and things like that. But also, I'm interested in good companies. And so I listen to a lot of investment and investor type podcasts, and I don't think I'm there yet. Certainly it's a time factor, but, that would be something that I would hope to get to one day.
Okay, excellent. So looking to the future still, but more back to Kahana Feld. Do you have any like 6 or 12-month initiatives?
Yeah, so I think we have layered goals all the way up the chain for the firm. So I'll start top down. Amir Kahana, who is the Kahana of Kahana Feld, his long-term vision is we would love to be an AmLaw 100 firm, one of the big 100 in the United States or worldwide. We have a very sound business model. So, we're not going to just hire bodies to get there. We're looking for sustainable and profitable growth. But I think that's the big long-term picture. I know the firm as a whole is looking to expand its footprints in certain other markets over the course of 2025 and 2026. But I think for myself and for Arizona, we're looking to find great attorneys. We're looking to really, fill out our team. We've got, a small, medium-sized team that's here doing great work. But we've got a lot of wonderful clients that are trusting us with their time and their businesses. And we're blessed to be able to bring in new people. So, I'm focused on finding, great attorneys, whether they've got, a lot of years of experience or whether they're new and hungry and want to learn. We're looking for passionate paralegals that, want to work in an environment that is faster paced, but where they can be empowered not only to give good ideas but do good work. I think testament to the firm, we're always very conscious of the culture that we're building, and so we want people to appreciate coming to work in a hard industry. We want to try to make that a little easier, and we want to give everybody the tools and resource to succeed, whether that's technology or benefits or anything in between. So it's a very exciting time. I tell people when we sit down and meet, probably an opportunity to get in at near the ground floor, second level in Arizona, and the second or third floor at the firm nationwide. So it's a growth period, and it's very, very exciting.
Yeah, it is. That's awesome. Thank you for that. And yeah, Arizona's booming. So very, very exciting to be here with that. So Joshua, if people would like to connect with you or learn more, what should they do?
Yeah, so I'm always happy to connect and chat and just learn about different things, and happy to answer general questions. So I tell anyone, if you have a direct question, my email box is open, which is J Offenhartz, so first initial last name at Kahana Feld. You can see on the screen. You can always reach out to me through LinkedIn. And again, if you sort of just Google my name, there are different ways to connect. But I'm largely an open book, largely available. And like this, I like chatting, I like meeting people. So please feel free to reach out and let's connect and let's talk about what you've got going on.
All right, excellent. Thank you for that, and thank you everyone for listening and watching. Thank you, Joshua Offenhartz, for joining me today. We appreciate you sharing your story and your practice and your insights into growing businesses here in Phoenix.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Happy to be here. Thanks, everybody.
Inspired by our guests? Visit PhoenixProsperityPodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.